Across all platforms, Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky. Woo! For this one here today. Oh, yeah. Hammering that horn. There we go.
A little bit.
Welcome back. That's the way we got to do it every time. But welcome back. Episode 211. We got a lot to talk on here today. Coming up, a big, I know normally we try to do 1 hour of soccer, and then obviously we'll get into our all sports content, which a lot to talk on here today. Obviously, the national championship last night, Indiana winning their first ever national championship. Again, this is a team that's been the doormat of college football for pretty much their entire existence. End up winning their first natty over Miami, a team who obviously has a history of winning championships and producing NFL talent. So we'll talk obviously a lot about that in the all sports section. Also, the Detroit Lions, new offensive coordinator, just hired the other day. Is an interesting looking individual. Let's just hope he can move the offense. The only thing I want him to do is just move the offense forward. That's it.
Weird.
So that's coming up on all sports content, but a really packed soccer portion of the show here today. Coming up a little bit later, head coach of Tufts University, Kyle Dezotell, who has nearly been in the sport for about 2 decades now.
Since
He started back in 2004. So yeah, really a really long time as a head coach. Recently won a D3 national championship, first national championship in his coaching career. So sometimes patience works out in your favor. Obviously, he's had a long decorated history of coaching everywhere that he's gone. But first D3 national title for him. Also, we have a special announcement coming up from the Flint City Bucks, so keep it locked for that. But Ryan, I know yesterday, I'm sure the majority of your time was taken up watching that national championship game, but I was struggling through yesterday's show. I spent the majority of the day sleeping and drinking electrolytes. So that was the majority of what I did. But as we come into the show here today, what did you see yesterday? And I guess what are you most excited to chat about today?
I would just say that the Indiana fan base is one of the worst fan bases in America. That's all I'd have to say. They're a bandwagon fan base that, but at the beginning of the Signetti era, didn't fill half the stadium. Now they are massive football fans all of a sudden. That's just crazy to me that's what the stadium looked like. And when you go on social media and you take one slight jab at them, they become very irritated, and they just have this feeling that they must be accepted by all of society and in the college football rankings. Sure, he just won a national championship, but there's just something about him that I don't think really truly deserves it. I don't care that they're the losingest program in college football history. I don't really know if they deserve it because of the way that they've acted over the last couple of months and the way they've acted over the years, where they don't even show up to football games, but all of a sudden they're good. Let's go all out to it. Just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
So let me
put it out
this
there.
In 2016, were Cubs fans bandwagoners? We're all Cubs fans bandwagoners?
I don't know. I didn't watch baseball.
I mean, being they haven't won the World Series in 100+ years. I'm just asking. I'm just asking
Cubs,
for clarity's sake.
The Cubs seemed like since they were, I feel like the Cubs have always had like a good fan base, I would say. Do you need me to go on just screen by myself for a second?
No, we're good.
No, they always seemed like I always feel like there was like a backbone of a good fan base. I feel like even though I don't like Chicago, I feel like Chicago has a good fan base for all their sports. And I feel like the Cubs are a historic franchise. They are just like historically bad because of the curse, but like they embraced it a little bit. So no, I wouldn't say the Cubs are bandwagons because I feel like they've been good. They had they got the fan in the foul line knocking the ball out of the guy's glove, and then ultimately cost them. Which wasn't Miggy on the Marlins? Wasn't Miguel Cabrera on that Marlins team?
He was. Yeah, he was on that. That was his World Series. Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Which is funny when you look
everyone wins a World Series when they're not in the Tigers.
When you look at old pictures of him versus where he was at the end of his career, is very
Yeah.
funny. It looks like two completely different people, which, maybe not roids, but certainly something else that
I think he
made him bulk up a little bit.
think he
No,
ate
man, I'm
Old
just
Miggy.
asking. Yeah, I'm just asking, because I mean, the truth is that baseball. I could argue that a lot of those people that go to those games are maybe not Cubs fans; they're just in Chicago and they just want the experience. It's the same reason why the United Center is packed out on a Wednesday night against the Phoenix Suns. Like, no one actually cares about the Bulls. The Bulls have been irrelevant for forever, but it's the place that MJ built, number one, and it's just a cultural experience to go watch a game at the United Center. It was not a cultural experience to go watch Indiana football for the longest time. I mean, unless you were like a student there and they were notorious for like taking their shirts off and standing in like one portion of the stadium and waving their shirts. That was like Indiana's thing for the longest time. And they always talked about how like the thing at Indiana was they never lost a tailgate. Like, that was the thing about Indiana football. It's like, we're not going to win the game, but we're never going to lose the tailgate, which means that people would go drink and hang out and party in the parking lot, but they probably wouldn't go into the stadium because they realized, what was going to happen. But I don't know, man, when Tom Allen was there, like there was something building. Obviously that teetered off at the very end and that led to Kurt Signetti, but like you got to give people reason to come out and watch the whole time, right? Like there's no history of winning whatsoever in Indiana. In Memorial Stadium, as much as that place is, I'm sure, old and cool to go watch a game in, it's not a historical landmark the way that Wrigley Field is. So I don't know, man. I think it's a little bullish to say that they're all just bandwagon fans. I mean, if you want to call me a bandwagon fan, go ahead, because that's exactly what I am. And that's just because I know the history of Indiana football. So that's why I hopped on that band. The minute Kurt Signetti got there, every win, I was posting something about him. And it was mostly because I knew Michigan was cheeks.
Have you ever said anything bad about Indiana football? Have you ever said anything bad about them?
Have I ever said anything bad about Indiana?
Because they were not a good football team
know.
last year. Last year they weren't good.
You said they weren't a good football team last year?
Not last year, no. They didn't beat anybody. Their best win was Michigan. And the moment I dislike Signetti,
Stig's first year.
The moment I disliked Signetti was the Ohio State game. That was the moment I disliked them because, the Notre Dame game too a little bit because he sat on national television and said what he had to say instead of hyping his team up. Was he protected his deficit against Ohio State by running the football in the fourth quarter instead of actually trying to air the thing out and didn't want to get scored on more by Ohio State. And I will say, as much as I dislike Ohio State, I will say I thought Will Howard doing the cigarette thing was pretty sweet, even though he sucks. Will Howard was garbage. But the moment I disliked him is when he talks all this rah-rah and this pompous. Now he can obviously back it up. But back then, when he was talking all this rah-rah and this pompous, and you're running the football down by 3 scores in the fourth quarter to protect your deficit, so the loss doesn't look bad? Come on now. No, I don't think they were a good team last year because they didn't beat anybody. And I would say in the regular season, they played, just Oregon? Oregon was probably the only game they had, and then Ohio State, and then obviously the playoff run. So I would like to see Indiana. I would like to really see Indiana play some better out of conference games like in the regular season because I want to see if they how they stack up against like a Georgia. I want to see how they stack up against obviously not this Texas but a better Texas team with a competent quarterback. But no, I would like to see Indiana play against some real teams and not some Kennesaw States, Old Dominions of the world. But no, I would like to see them play against some good teams instead of those bad teams.
Well, so let's take a look at Michigan's 2023 schedule. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers.
Bowling Green was decent that year. Give them credit.
Oh, okay.
Give him credit.
Maction. I know you got a deep love in your heart for Maction, I'll give him a little credit.
No, I remember, though, Bowling Green was good that year.
Did they make the MAC championship that year?
No, but they were like a good team.
They did, didn't they?
They sucked this year, though. Eddie George, I don't know what he was doing. Whoever the coach was before did a good job, but Eddie George.
Did you see that cat, though, that they have? It's like their team mascot.
Yeah, Jackson made a big ordeal about that thing.
Yeah, I love that. That cat's cool. Rutgers,
Dogs.
Nebraska.
Dogs.
I guess Nebraska on the road is going to be
That
hard.
was
Minnesota.
PJ Fleck.
Indiana. They beat them 52-7. So there you go, Ryan. Michigan State.
They're a juggernaut.
Penn State.
They didn't even throw the ball.
Fair.
They didn't even throw
They
it.
didn't even throw the football once. It's poetic justice. Maryland and Ohio State. Okay. Fine. I guess we can go off strength of schedule. But let's get into our soccer talk here really quick.
Hey, don't disrespect Minnesota.
Minnesota. That's still one of my favorite lines ever from Joe Biden. It's so good. I don't even know what he was talking about or what the context of the conversation was. But man, yeah, I think he was just trying to hype up the crowd. I have no idea, but that one's definitely saved in the clips to make me laugh on a rainy day if I ever need it. But there was a clip circulating yesterday. Speaking of clips, Dana White, obviously the man who founded UFC, having some interesting comments about the sport of soccer yesterday. And I saw this kind of circulating the other day. It said it's the least talented sport there is. Let me see if I can pull up the full quote that he had.
Yeah, he talked about. So his big thing was that it's low scoring. That was his big thing, is a goal that big and it being 2-1 or 3-1. Like that was his big thing about soccer. And then he said 3-year-olds could do it. I imagine you got it now.
Yeah, can't stand soccer. I think the least talented sport on earth. There's a reason why 3-year-olds play the sport. Okay.
Well, 3-year-olds play a lot of sports.
That's exactly it.
T-ball.
So, right, T-ball.
Mini ball, like
basketball.
The only thing they don't play would be hockey and football, right?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, the thing is like 3-year-olds play basketball. They don't dribble, but they definitely play basketball. But anyways,
it's like handball at that point.
Let's dissect this a little bit. First of all, I will never disrespect mixed martial arts. I think it is from a just a raw skill set perspective. Anything when it comes to combat requires a lot of skill, a lot of timing, and a lot of mental fortitude. There's a reason why wrestlers are the way that they are physically, why their endurance is where it is. The worst defensive linemen I hated playing against when I was in high school were wrestlers or offensive linemen.
A lot of them are. A lot of linemen.
Because they don't have to be all that horribly big. They don't have to be all that massively wide. The one thing they know how to do is, number one, they're going to beat you with their first step, right? Their first step is always going to be where it needs to be, and they know how to manipulate a body, right? And that's the most important thing when you talk about offensive and defensive lines. They understand how to get to a point to turn your body. And really, that's all they need to do in order to spring a run or to spring a gap. It is the most physically daunting, mentally daunting, everything else along the line. If I were to rate who are the greatest, quote, athletes, right, per sport, I'm pretty sure it would be either mixed martial arts, Greco-Roman wrestling, or boxing.
Golfers.
In terms of, well, golfers are athletic in one way, but not quite to that extent. But it is anything combat-wise. I'm not going to disrespect mixed martial arts, but I think when we're talking about soccer, I think we need to realize something, and that's in order to play on a pitch that is that big and be able to time up your runs in a way to where you can score and string everything together. Soccer combines all the different elements. It's the physical, it's the mental, it's the having a good touch on your passes, it's the endurance with how far these guys run every single game that they play. There's so many different things about the sport. Just because it's not high scoring doesn't mean it's not a skilled-based sport. And the reason why we're not caught up to the rest of the world is exactly that, is the individual skill set with the ball on our foot. That is something that we're getting to a point here in the United States because, again, We're all about physicality, explosiveness, raw, right? That's why we like football. That's why we like things like mixed martial arts, because it's explosive and it's in your face. Soccer is in so many ways, and I compare this to kind of baseball. It's kind of a patient man's game. Your timing has to be there. You have to wait for the right moment to strike. And so all of that combined, I think, makes soccer one of the most talented sports. And if you watch 3-year-olds play soccer, they're not playing it the way that professionals play it. Clearly, when I watch elementary school kids play football, clearly they're not playing the same way that we see professionals play. There's so many different things about the sport that I think make it a talent-based sport. But what says you?
A couple things. There's an endurance. There's a foot skills. You got to make decisions on the fly. I mean, what sport doesn't? Like you're doing a whole bunch of different things, and one thing that people obviously on TV do not understand is how fast the game actually is. The game is very fast,
Yeah.
and it's like your head is on a swivel, not 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I should say, and you have to constantly, whether you have to go into that space, go into this space, you constantly check your shoulder, constantly move in and out of spaces, in and out of defenders, find a little pocket of space to turn. Like when you find yourself in a little bit of a pocket of space with your back to goal and you have to turn, you have to make it that you have to already check your shoulder, see where your defenders are behind you, check your shoulder, and you have to know in that split second while you are looking like this, the ball's coming to you, you have to catch it and make your decision immediately and try to go from there. And you also got to look maybe where your teammates are on the field. So there's a ton of different things. And to the point about, about low scoring, you realize, yesterday's national championship game, it finished what, 24-21? So if we were going simply off touchdowns, it's 3-3.
Yeah.
One touchdown is 6 points. Like they just football just makes up the points as they go. A field goal, 3 points. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if you were to simply go down by if you constantly looked at every single football game and just went by like, if you just counted 1 point for every touchdown, it'd be under 10 points a game. It'd be like, I bet you would probably everyone would average 4.5, 5 points a game. So it'd be like 5-4 or something like that. Again, that's a high scoring soccer game, but the football scores wouldn't be as high as what people think. And to go to the point of the goal is so big and you can't do that. You have to hit a ball perfectly, through traffic, through a couple of defenders, and a goalie who is well positioned to get his outstretched arm out, even if you put it in the top corner. Like you still have to put something, even if you want to get it into the other corner. The score outside the 18 is incredibly tough to do because you have to hit it in the right pace. You got to get the right spin on it. You have to you probably have to get past a couple of defenders. The ball does at least. And then you still have the goalie who's world class and still has to put an arm out. Like I go back to Declan Rice's free kick about 25 yards out against Real Madrid last year. The only reason that went in is because he put it in a spot where 6'5" Thibaut Courtois could not get the ball. Like, literally put it in the corner of the side netting inside the goal. That's the only reason that goal went in, because of how well he struck the ball. And to say, there's a reason why 3-year-olds play it. 3-year-olds do a lot of things. They play T-ball. They play biddy ball, and God knows what else they do. They also wrestle each other, just, not as violent as MMA. So technically 3-year-olds wrestle, if we're being completely honest, Dana. But I'm just saying, it's just to me that just this whole take from Dana White is just a lazy American take. That's all it is. It's a lazy American take that it's wimpy, little kids play. Oh, I played it when I was 3 years old or 4 and did this and that. It's just a lazy take because you're not actually going in depth of why you don't like soccer. Like, if you said that I sat there and I just didn't understand the game and it's just too slow for me, I would 100% understand that take. But you coming out there and saying, well, it's just not talented. The goal is so low scoring. There's no skill involved. There's so much skill involved that people just don't understand. It's just a lazy American take. That's all.
And to strike a ball from whatever it is, 40 yards out, and be able to curl it past a goaltender. I mean, to bend the ball the way that some of these guys do with their foot and the coordination that they have to have in order to be successful in this sport is just absolutely wild to me. And the truth is, when people have takes like this, let me make something very clear. They're not watching.
No.
They're not watching the sport. They're not consuming it. They're not in it. Dana White, I know for a fact, has never sat down and watched an entire match in his life, especially a high-level match against two competitive teams. Now, if you wanted to your point, if you wanted to make a gripe about how, well, yeah, you don't understand it, or, I hate the flopping. I
Yeah.
also hate the antics around refereeing, and just how these conversations in between, a tackle leads to a 20-minute conversation with the referee. Those are perfectly viable things that I'm like, this is ridiculous, because you really don't see that in every other sport. Yeah, you'll see basketball players complain, but we move it along. You see football players complain, but we move it along.
Every pass
In
interference.
soccer/football, what's that?
Every pass interference.
Yes, every single one of them. Yeah, exactly. And obviously with replay review, like that slowed things down a lot too. But if those are your main gripes, I completely understand that. But I'm going to summarize this in one way, and this is always my reaction when I see one type of athlete picking fun at another sport, whether it be basketball and football or hockey players being like baseball isn't athletic or whatever it is. A lot of soccer players, I'm sure Cristiano Ronaldo and maybe Lionel Messi, probably would not last in the octagon.
No.
But I could also confidently say that Humpty Dumpty, aka Mr. Clean, would probably not last more than 10 minutes on a soccer pitch.
Yeah.
Okay? So we can stop with these cross-sport comparisons because you wouldn't last a minute out there, much like I'm sure Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo would never find themselves in an octagon. So if we want to talk about skill or talent, it takes a different skill set or a talent base to play either of the two sports. Again, I'm not going to say soccer is immune to criticism, because they're not. And there are certain things about that sport that, again, even I would change. And I throw it back to when you and I did the NISA Pro Cup, looking at the way that, again, the players would address the referee in between plays and just how stop and go that was. It's like, man, this is ridiculous. And like I said, referees in soccer, like, if you were to tell me I had to go ref the AFCON final,
I'd
that
say
sounds
no in a
like
heartbeat.
a nightmare. A nightmare. Like, how do they get those people out of the stadium?
It's
Is there a
a
secret
lot of
underground
security.
tunnel? Lots of security, an underground tunnel to get them back to their cars. I don't get it. So to that degree, and by the way, shame on Morocco for what happened yesterday. I know I wasn't in really my complete sane state of mind to really give a full reaction to that, but man, that was stupid. That was ridiculous. But no, to that degree, there are things about the sport that I think for Americans don't really sit all that well, and it's mostly because, again, selling fouls is a massive part of the
Yeah.
game in soccer. Like, that is massive, and it's strategic. It's like the push down in the box the other day. Like, you got to sell it. So if he went into depth with saying that and saying that's the reason why he doesn't like it, then I would respect it. But yeah, lazy American take, 100%.
There's a clip talking about flopping here where there is a clip of this high school kid playing travel soccer or something in some tournament, and he posted it himself. He's like, "Is this a PK?" And it is clearly a PK, but the way he dribbled with the ball, and then he gets stopped, and the defender doesn't quite win the ball. Like, it's clearly it's a stonewall PK, but the way he jumped and tried to flop and sell it, that's what didn't get him the PK, is because of that. Like,
Yeah.
I commented on the video and I said 100% a PK, but the way you fell made me not want to say it's a PK. So that's what I said, and that's what a lot of people
Like,
don't
he
like.
oversold it type
Yes,
thing.
like, it's a
Yeah.
stonewall PK, but the way that you jumped and screamed, and you can't do that. And I know that turns a lot of American fans off. Is
Yeah.
that? And I know a lot of American fans, at least a couple of my friends or whatever, and a couple of my family members are being turned off from the NBA because that's one of the other reasons too. And we talked about
Yeah.
I know we didn't get to it. I know we were gonna talk about it last week, but we never got to it about it. If the NBA is unwatchable, I wouldn't say that part. But the point that I'm making is that there's a lot of flopping and a lot of like heads cocking back when they drive to sell a foul, and it happens a lot. Like you even see a little bit in football. You see some flopping with wide receivers. In even sometimes I feel like. Sometimes I feel like the quarterbacks sell their little unnecessary roughnesses or rough in the passer. Like you're telling me Mahomes did not die every single time he got touched. That can't be true. But I just would say I think flopping turns a lot of people off, and it does that. And soccer obviously is the sport that does it the most. But sometimes you also got to think. There's a couple times they lay on the ground because they're exhausted and they're trying to just catch their breath for a second, and some of their teammates probably like that. That's kind of the game within the game. But then also sometimes you'll see, at least when you watch Ted Lasso, is that when a player goes down, he might be completely fine, but he'll limp a little bit. It's to show toughness that he's playing through something. So again, people just got to understand it. That's all.
Yeah,
it's just a
part of
language sometimes to people. The game of soccer is.
Yeah. And understandably so. Like we're growing in that way. I wanted to give a shout out to one of our TikTok followers. Refs Need Love too. He has over 200K followers on TikTok, and day after day, he will make these videos of what's this call or how would I call this differently, and that's just a part of it. Like so much of the sport comes down to referees' discretion with a lot of these things, and that's the thing that I think as an American, especially when I was new to this sport, a couple of years ago joining the network, it's like that was the part that was the trippiest for me. It's like, well, what do you mean a lot of this is down to discretion? What do you mean he can bring the ball back to a spot because there was a foul there, but he played advantage and this, that, and the other? Like, what do you mean he meant to blow the whistle, but he didn't? Like what?
Should we do like a TikTok series or a social media series where we just we teach, how we just teach the Americans what this means in the game of soccer, to get you prepared for the World Cup. What's going on here?
Can you do an accent?
This isn't offsides, but this is offsides. Sometimes you're going to see this. This is what this means. It'd be kind of funny.
No, I vivid memories, and I believe it was Arsenal who was playing. My dad and I were in an Irish pub in Ann Arbor before a Michigan, I believe it was Pepperdine. They were playing in hockey. Second half of a doubleheader at Yost. No, dead of the winter. But I believe it was Arsenal. I don't know who they were playing, but this pub was filled up, and he had no choice. He was forced to watch it because my dad would probably come from a Dana White perspective, if anything. And I'm explaining all these things to him, and I think he's slowly starting to catch on at the very end. But obviously not as much. But can you do an accent?
Accent of what?
Are you good with accents? Let's say British accent.
Not really.
Something like that? No?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Let's say, we should pretend like we're those British guys explaining football to Americans. I think that would be interesting.
We explain for the American people. Also,
or we can intentionally explain it wrong so that the Europeans get all over us again. That would be funny.
Yeah, we gotta go after on the other side before we get the interview going. We'll have to read. There's a lot of mailbags that pertain to that video.
We love our fan mail.
Yes.
You guys are always very supportive.
We got
even
that
so
one
much so to the point to where they want to shut our page down and get rid of us completely. They want
that's right. Yeah,
erase us from the map because of the way we speak on the sport of football.
Then Europeans. You know what Europeans make a basketball podcast or a football an American football podcast or a basketball podcast overseas, and we'll listen to it and we'll tell you if you're wrong or right. All right. In the moment, if you guys compliment Ohio State, report.
Yep. Can't happen. On repeat. Let's take a step aside. When we come back, we'll dive into some of those mailbag comments. I didn't even realize we trolled the entirety of Europe, but we did. And man, oh man. By the way, y'all, the more that you comment, the more that you push our content out there. I just want to leave a friendly reminder for all of our friends out there across the pond that are leaving comments. But that's coming up next here on episode 211 of Inside the Game. Back live here on Inside the Game, episode 211. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky for this Tuesday version of Inside the Game. Continuing along with our soccer content today. By the way, coming up at around 10 o'clock, expecting to have a conversation with Tufts University head coach, Tufts University, that is Kyle Dezotell, who's been in the coaching game for 2 decades now, but just recently won a D3 national championship. We got to listen in at least a little bit to an interview with him earlier. I know you were playing something out loud, Ryan. I was listening along to that, but it'll be a really good conversation with him. I know we've gotten the chance to talk to a couple of different national champions and obviously the Matt Kerman Trophy award winner as well on our show. So keep it locked. Follow the National Soccer Network wherever you find your social media. Also, we got a really special announcement coming up. The Flint City Bucks, the most decorated, I would say, USL program in the country. Produced over 100 players for Major League Soccer. They got a really special announcement coming up a little bit later. But in this part of the show, we wanted to dive into a little mailbag segment. We got some fan mail, Ryan. A lot of people reaching out telling us how much they appreciate our show. We felt the need the other day to mention how there is an American bias in Europe, which seems brutally apparent. Mostly, I mean, we listed a couple of different examples, but it seems like it certainly does exist. And I mentioned that the reason being, or not the reason being, the thing that upsets me the most isn't that it happens, it's that they're not willing to admit it. And the thing that I find most interesting is that when you are guilty of doing something, generally speaking, your response to being questioned about it is not going to be calm, cool, and collected. Right, you're not going to be you're not going to address that in a very direct but also non-violent, non-angry way. Generally speaking, if people are guilty of something, the first thing that they do is they lash out, they defend. How dare you say that? How dare you say, how dare you imply that I'm acting this way? And the entire comment section on this video was just filled with that. So if you were to ask me, do I still believe there's an American bias? 1,000%. And these comments are the reason why. But what are some of the doozies that we got there, Ryan?
It's from our YouTube videos. Again, you can catch some of our shorter form videos, our segments on YouTube at the National Soccer Network YouTube page. So head over there, comments, or National Soccer Network TV, I should say. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. This one coming from Monster 11. When someone calls football soccer, then that automatically hits the hate switch on the rest of the world. Well, I guess so, but it's really not that serious. It's just a word.
Yeah, I don't get it. And the truth is, and again, we can go through the history lesson, and I've already talked about this. Like, we got the word soccer from England. Like, this was something that they talk about, like the English schoolboys back in the day would like abbreviate things, or they would add ER onto the end of words. So it was, they literally created that word. We brought it over here, so we started calling it soccer. So we got that from you guys. Okay, just so that we're clear on our history lesson. Also, we're not the only country in the world that calls it that. Right? We have Australia also calls it soccer. South Africa also calls it soccer. So we're not the only ones in the world that call it that. So again, insecurity, check. Go ahead.
This is from Ken. He said, "It's the real football. The whole world calls it football. Change what you call your lame game, USA. The world is tired of your arrogance." I would also kind of say you're arrogant because you said the whole world calls it, and we have to change our name for you. So I would say there's a little bit of irony in that comment there, Ken.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, you could say. What was the last part of that comment again?
World is tired of your arrogance.
Yeah, well, the truth is that I don't understand arrogance in what perspective? Arrogance on the soccer pitch?
He's talking about
what
not
is it that we
changing
said?
their name, where we don't change it to say football.
Well, yeah, well, we have a football here. And the truth is that when we bring it over to your country, we sell out a stadium. Every single time we go over to England, we sell out the stadium. You guys come out in record numbers to see our football played. Does the NFL get better ratings than the Premier League? Or is the Premier League still number one?
I think the Premier League. I mean, soccer's the most watched sport in the world, so I would imagine
Right.
that it is. I wouldn't say American football's up there. I don't think the NFL's numbers are up there.
Quick
And
Google search here.
anyway,
But
this is a really good one from Tolkien Fan 10. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. Why do European fans hate U.S. soccer? Because it's shite. That's why. Okay, you managed to up your game somewhat the last few years by bringing over icons such as Beckham, Rooney, Ibra, and now Messi. But all those names were in the twilight of their careers when they made it to the MLS. For the most part, the rest have been average. Reminds me of the Ibra clip when the idiot commentator, that's Hercules Gomez, asked him about Carlos Vela, trying to compare the two of them. Ibra is a legend. Vela has always been average. The truth is, MLS is an average league and is hampered by the fact that in the U.S. the game is seen as being a woman's sport, mainly because it's not an American sport, but also because the guys are not very good. But if you keep importing foreigners in, the league will improve, and in time, who knows? I think the league has constantly been on the up recently. It's always improving. I mean, sure, they get a lot of the players at the twilight of their career, but that's also helped the MLS improve their game. Beckham being one of them, saying they need to implement an academy system, and they did that. Carlos Vela was overseas. He ultimately came back.
I mean, it wrong necessarily about Major League Soccer. I do think it is building. Obviously it's not one of the top leagues in the world, and I don't think it's going to be for quite some time if it is ever. So I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with what he said, but to say that it's viewed as a woman's sport, again, I'll just keep mentioning the statistic again. It's the more kids play soccer in the United States than any other sport. And again, you can argue that, well, it's simple, it's easy. There's a reason why 3-year-olds play it. Okay, fine. But the majority of that, a lot of those players are men. And yes, we have seen significant strides from Americans in the European game. And again, with every single step, with every single player that does something, it just brings out more of this insecurity side that we see from European fans. They can't stand seeing it. They hate it. But I mean, if anything, I think that was probably the most well spelled out comment that we've had out of all of them.
The Dirty Bubble says, might be the funniest video I've ever had the displeasure of watching. Well, you commented and still watched it, so I would say you liked it for a little bit. Average drummer, when the best player in your league is a washed 35-plus foreigner, it kind of speaks for itself, really. Again, we're not talking about the MLS. Like, these videos is about the Americans getting respect in terms of them doing overseas. It says nothing to do with the MLS. If you're looking for respect, say its name properly. Football. First, don't call it soccer. Football. You play it with your foot. Oh, jeez. When American soccer will get respect, ? Humanity will go extinct before this happens. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Boycott the World Cup. Well, people are still going to watch it and come over and watch it. So,
probably not going to happen.
Okay. Didn't watch the video, but just by the title of the video or even your channel, I could tell what the main issue is. If you want world soccer, in quotes, to respect you, then start by respecting the game called football. And if you can't manage having two sports called the same, then why not rename American football something more fitting to what actually happens on the pitch? Like, I don't know, advertisement ball, easy mode rugby, or halftime break is the best part ball.
Oh, my God. Advertisement ball? Hold on. Advertisement ball? Your goddamn kits have 15 companies on them. What are you talking about, advertisement ball? Are you high right now? Advertisement ball. Name me one place in a soccer pitch where there isn't an advertisement. They're literally one of the biggest fears in American sports is that we're going to turn into that, is that players are going to start having college uniforms, NFL uniforms. They're going to have all these advertisements all over their uniforms. They literally put one patch, a Meyer patch or whatever it was, on the Red Wings uniforms, and people lost their cookies. People absolutely lost their mind. How can you put a advertisement patch on these uniforms that have so much history behind them? Yeah, that's baloney. Here's a mirror, goddamn look in it. Advertisement ball? Oh, okay, yeah. Rugby on easy mode. Okay, yeah. It doesn't take as much endurance as rugby does, sure. But trust me. How many rugby players have tried converting over to the NFL and have made a successful career out of it? Oh wait, no, go ahead. Because NFL organizations have tried drafting rugby players before. Name me one that's had a successful NFL career.
Jalen Hurts. Tush push.
Oh yeah, okay, that's rugby like. I'll give you that.
The tush.
Yeah,
Josh
okay.
Allen. Tush push.
They just don't have to scrum afterwards, like once it stops, So, yeah, I'm not going to disrespect rugby, but once you can name me one player that's successfully converted to play in the NFL or anywhere else, yeah, let me know because it hasn't happened. And the Lions have tried that a few different times. So no, that's baloney. That is I want that guy on the show so we can have a little conversation with him because yeah, that got me fired up.
I'm not gonna
Anyways,
lie.
you got any other ones?
Yeah, we got one more. Yeah, that was. I can't even. Again, please have like normal ways I can pronounce them. This will be the last one. Before we go on to the American, which U.S. athlete we would take on the soccer team. This is complete nonsense. Dual American exceptionalism. Just ask yourselves where the top players and highest earners in the U.S. are guys whose careers in Europe and other international leagues are over. Over the Hill has been milking gullible U.S. fans to top up their pension balances. Well, not a lot of people have pensions anymore. There is not a single U.S. player who has been a successful at a high level in world football. It will not be happening anytime soon. Christian Pulisic's doing his thing right now. Weston McKennie's doing his thing right now. Again, I'm not saying they're the best players in the world or top 5 in their position, but they're doing really well for Serie A and top sides in Serie A, let alone that. But no, I would say Americans, this is the closest they've been to dominating world football. Soccer, my bad.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, one last thing on that last comment. Halftime is not the most entertaining part, at least to people who actually watch the sport.
Depends. I would say for the Lions Thanksgiving game this year, I would say so because that game sucked. And I would say that might be
much loved.
Jack White's a dog. Jack White and Eminem were very good.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll give you that. But no, I mean, again, we're not talking about Major League Soccer. We're talking about players that are playing in Europe. And again, speaking to some of these people, at least trying to speak logic to some of these people, is like trying to speak logic to a wall, right? It's like trying to explain to Ohio State fans that sign stealing is not the sole reason why Michigan won a national championship.
Oh, you mean
they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to logic. They're going to live in their fairy tale land that it was only the signs and that's the only thing that team did and they weren't actually good and all this other stuff. Like there is no talking logic to these people. So there's no point in doing it. Right? So like this guy is another example. There's no American players who are relevant in world soccer. Christian Pulisic's the most relevant player in Serie A right now. Chris Richards just won Crystal Palace its first major championship. And I'm not saying he did it alone. Obviously, there's 11 players on the field, but let's not pretend like Americans aren't making a difference. Obviously, Weston McKennie. We're going to talk about some other players that have really turned a corner in our upcoming segment, our biggest surprise going into the new year and who we're maybe going to be focused on the most. But no, there's some of these people, Ryan, there's just no talking logic to. And that's why these comments are so great because not only are they speaking illogically, but they're helping boost our videos, right? So it's a double whammy, and that's why we appreciate all you guys who leave comments, good, bad, or otherwise. No, we're not going anywhere just because a couple of Europeans are trying to shut us down. But coming up next on episode 211, let's dive into our biggest surprises going into the new year, who we're focused on the most on the U.S. men's national team. That's coming up next on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
Welcome back to Inside the Game. I didn't touch anything on your end. I just hit unmute, unmute, or mute, unmute. Well, looks like we'll wait until come back, I guess. I don't know. I can't hear you, Nate, at all.
That's probably why my mic was muted. Sorry, I was coughing a little bit over here. All right, sounds good. You can't read lips, Ryan?
I read a little bit, but I couldn't hear you. I was gonna be like, all right, looks like I'm going on a one screen for a little bit until we get back.
Oh, but getting into our final segment here before we get into the interview with Kyle Dezotell. Again, around 10 o'clock, will be joining us here on Inside the Game, so we'll have that conversation with the national championship winning head coach for Division III Tufts University. But let's get into this a little bit, Ryan. As we get into the new year, obviously we got more soccer coming up for this U.S. men's national team as we get ramped up for the 2026 World Cup. There were a lot of players that surprised before we went into the holidays and the new year. And obviously, as we get ramped up, we just talked about the U.S. just booked Senegal the other day. So they have Belgium, they have Portugal, they have Senegal. Germany, I believe, will be their send-off game, which is not a send-off. I mean, it's here in the United States. But either way, it'll be their final game before the start of the 2026 World Cup. But today, let's talk about our one player that surprised us the most, that we're really going to be paying attention to coming into the new year, who we think might make the biggest impact on this team. But who was the biggest surprise in your mind? I was listing off a couple of different examples earlier, but you said no to pretty much all of them. So I'm curious, who's yours?
It'd be Noah Kai Banks up to this point. Noah Kai Banks is 18-year-old that's killing it in the Bundesliga. And if we're going to play a back three, and especially with Cameron Carter-Vickers injured, Tim Ream getting up there in age, other injuries, I think Noah Kai Banks could absolutely slot to the right side of Chris Richards. I think it would go Ream, Richards, and then Noah Kai Banks. Like, this kid he's 18. Sure, you can say, oh, it's a young player, all this, and that. He's a young player. He needs experience at that point. But when you're getting experience in the Bundesliga and you're playing 90 minutes, week in, week out, I don't see why you can't play. Like, again, I'm not saying he's Kylian Mbappe in terms of defenders, but Kylian Mbappe, scored as an 18-year-old in a World Cup final. He started for France as teenagers. And I know it's a crazy example to use, but teenagers have done this before. And I think Noah Kai Banks is a player that could absolutely – it's kind of been the biggest surprise this whole time, and I think he could absolutely be a starter. But if there's a few question marks on this men's national teams in terms of the starting 11 – look, I know you said yesterday that Poch has his starting 11 or should have his starting 11. I think he's got eight picked out for the starting 11. I think there's a couple holes that still needs to be decided, and that right center back of the back three is one of those holes that needs to still be decided. And I think Noah Kai Banks could 100% fill that role, and I think he's a solid player. He's been a surprise because no one expected him to do anything. But if I'm talking about in 2026, I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to make a jump and he ends up in the starting 11. But what I'm saying is he is a surprising player, and I expect a lot from him. And I think he could be a surprise to a lot of people because what's an 18-year-old doing in the starting 11 of a World Cup roster?
Yeah, and he could be a big-time surprise. And someone certainly to pay attention to going into the new year. My answer to this is Brendan Aronson. I think no player really in terms of, raising their stock going into the new year. I don't think anybody has done that more than Brendan Aronson and what he's done. And really over just the past 6 weeks with Leeds United. In that time has recorded 3 goals, 2 assists. And obviously from a psychological perspective, I feel like has turned the corner in the Premier League when you look at the body of work leading up to what this last stretch has been. The Leeds faithful were all over him. He was a guy that they were just giving him a really, really hard time. Now all of that's changed, and we've seen that change in real time, and they're leading new chants in favor of Brendan Aronson. But in terms of World Cup prospects, his ability to play multiple positions will serve him well. I think he's a versatile player. Even if he's not as technically sound, maybe as someone like an Alex Zendejas, which I know got significant minutes for the U.S. men's national team in some of those early international windows after the Gold Cup, which I think Zendejas is impressive, and I think there's a lot to like about him. I think Aronson's versatility is something that will serve him really well. But again, it's going to be tough to bump someone like Zendejas, obviously, unless they have him play next to him, because you still have Malik Tillman, you have Zendejas. Again, all these guys are attackers, and then you have Gio Reyna, obviously, who in that those final couple of matches heading into the new year and the holidays looked really good. So the hard thing for Brenden Aaronson is not that it's not that he's incapable of being in that spot, is that has he hit his stride a little bit too late? Have we already kind of decided, at least from an attacker's perspective, we already have our group, right? With Tim Weah, Christian Pulisic, Flo Balogun. Does he fit into that mix? Does he make it on the roster? I think he should at least be rostered for this group for the U.S. men's national team going into the World Cup. I think he's someone that could certainly come off the bench and provide a lot of depth for this team in terms of his versatility and his range. But is there enough there for Mauricio Pochettino to really get him in a significant position, in a significant role on this team?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I was dealing with something. Sorry, I missed that question. What were you saying about?
No, you're good. No. Yeah, does Aronson have a chance to really? Because when I look at, again, attackers,
100%.
Yeah,
he does, because he's a bench guy. He's a player you could bring off the bench for 20, 25 minutes. And I've said it time and time again, can either see a game out, you could either A, see a game out, or two, push to grab an equalizing goal or a goal to win it for you. He's absolutely a player that can do it. Yeah. He's as people like to call him, a press merchant, but that's a good thing in terms of trying to win the ball back high up the field. He's a really good player at doing that. And if I look at the players that he's in competition with, Gio Reyna, Luna, Zendejas. Again, I want to say Tim Weah, but he's like playing right wing back, so I honestly don't even know about Tim Weah anymore, what position that kid's playing.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I would take Aronson over probably all of them at this point, but I will say you can't discredit what Gio Reyna does for the men's national team. Like, he always seems to play pretty well. So it's weird. But no, I would say Aronson. I think Aronson for me is the 12th man. I guess I know 12th man is kind of what the fans are in terms of American sports here, but he'd be the 12th man. He'd be the first guy off the bench for me every single time. He would, and that's not a bad thing because they're a part of the game. Realistically, if you're trying to make a run into a tournament like this, or a tournament or a international tournament like that, you need 16 or 17 guys for the roster here. But actually, we are joined here by Coach already, so we'll bring him in. Coach Dezotell, how are you doing here today?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm doing great. It's good to see you and be here with you. Thanks for having me on.
How are you?
Absolutely appreciate you.
Go ahead, Nate.
No, go ahead, Ryan.
All right. I'm still adding.
I appreciate you.
Go ahead.
Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us here today. Obviously, a really emotional roller coaster for you guys, winning the national championship. Now that the dust has settled, now that you guys are obviously into the off season, just looking back at how everything kind of came together, how impressed are you at the persistence in your team and being able to push through and win that title?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Nate. Thanks, Ryan. We're trying not to let the dust settle. Winning a national championship is a pretty incredible accomplishment and feeling, and so you try not to let go of that. But at some point, we need to, because we want to try to do it again. So, just an incredible accomplishment by our players and our staff. We had an incredible season, but it takes so much hard work and talent and good fortune and luck. And I mean, we had an amazing season, and it almost ended without the national championship, and just a moment of magic from Matteo Bargani with 4 seconds left, and gets us to overtime. And then it felt inevitable at that point, but still, you never know. And No, incredible accomplishment. So happy for our players. They've wanted this for a long time now and have worked toward it. But there's a lot of teams that want it and work toward it, and it doesn't happen. So no, it didn't come true, and an incredible accomplishment for the 40 players and staff within our program.
Coach, you had a couple of cracks at the tournament recently, a couple of runs. Now you guys finally cracked the code, win it all. What was different this year compared to the previous ones?
Yeah. So I took over a program that had won 4 national championships in the previous decade, 5 years ago. And admittedly, there's pressure that comes along with that. And I think one of the hard parts is I think I felt that pressure as a coach, and I think the players felt it. And when you start to get 2 and 3 and 4 years away from the last national championship, I think it just starts to build. And we've had, I think, 2021, 2024, definitely those teams were good enough to win it. But again, it's college soccer. Soccer is it's such a hard game to actually win 6 in a row, and luck and penalty kicks and referee decisions and weather and all of these things that come into play. But yeah, I mean, last year we felt like we had a chance to win it all. We were undefeated. We actually technically didn't lose a game all season in 2024, and we're out in the second round on penalty kicks. And so, yeah, I think this year. I think luck has something to do with it. This year we went to overtime at Brandeis. We had to go on the road. Division III silly soccer rules that you can't host men's and women's NCAA tournaments at the same time. Although they allowed a couple hosts to do that this year. So as the number 1 team in the country, I wasn't thrilled about that. And you can host multiple sports at the same time. So you could have the same amount of teams, just not the same amount of soccer teams. Anyway, that's a future endeavor for me to figure out. But we had to go into overtime at Brandeis in the second round and find a way to get it done. And like last year, that was the round we lost on penalty kicks. So there was something about that win, quite frankly, that felt like, okay, there was our moment where we were really, really tested pretty early on in this tournament, and we found a way through. And yeah, I mean, how do you score a goal with 4 seconds left? If you watch that game, you don't even need to watch the whole thing. Just watch the last 10 minutes. We were all over Trinity, and they have an amazing team. Certainly would have been worthy national champions themselves. But we were amazing in the last 10 minutes. And I feel like most games I've coached, there's you have that moment of 3 or 4 minutes left. It's probably not happening. That one got cleared off the line. That's probably not our day. But this one, until we scored that goal, it just felt like it was coming. And I've watched, obviously, you wake up some mornings now a month after it, and you're like, let's just look at the goal and relive that a little bit before we start our day. But even the commentators and the 2 announcers, it sounded like they believed that there was a goal coming too. There was just something that you could feel it. And I don't know. I'm a believer that things happen for a reason, and there's probably some type of higher powers out there. And that one, just I've heard you hear the saying name on the trophy. And when we scored that, it was our name's on that trophy. It just has to be.
Yeah. Well, and listening to your post-game interview, it was really fascinating to hear you, because you talk about how complicated of a sport this could be in terms of, lucky breaks or bad breaks. I guess from a coaching perspective at that point, it's easy to overthink things. But the one thing you said in that post-game interview was that during halftime, you didn't make any adjustments. You just continued to spur the guys on. You just told them, hey, we got to run harder. We got to give a little bit more to try and get this done. And obviously they responded and went out and did that. Why didn't you make any halftime adjustments?
Yeah, I mean, believe me, we were contemplating it. I have an incredible staff, and there's kind of 4 of us that make most of the tactical decisions, and then ultimately I make the final decision. 3 of us were pretty confident that what we were doing was correct. We just hadn't really executed. And one guy was like, I think we need to do something else, because we just got our butts kicked for 45 minutes. And probably as much as tactics are really, really important, if we had changed our system or our tactics, maybe the same thing would have happened. But I don't know what it was. Perhaps Trinity was really good. That they deserve a ton of credit. They were an incredible soccer team. I think they're one of the top teams in the in the country every single year. And, again, like Division III has its just strange parts and inequities in some level.
Yeah.
And they always have to go on the road from Texas. The NCAA won't fly 3 teams down to Texas very often. And so I'm sure they're a team that looks at like, wow, we've won 1 national championship. I think they've been to 3 finals now, and probably feel like they should have won 3 or 4 or 5 national championships. So it's just so hard. But I don't know. There was something about the way we played in the first half. It just seemed, whether we were respecting them too much, maybe the moment a little bit, and the moment hadn't really factored in at all. I thought we'd played loose the entire season and really just had fun with it. But as much as we weren't great in the first half, there was also like no heads were down. Guys weren't overly disappointed. It just also didn't feel like we were going to necessarily score to tie the game up in the first half. So we just trusted. Our guys are capable of working incredibly hard. We also know we have incredible depth, and we have guys that could be All-Americans if they played in other Division III leagues who come off the bench for us. And so we felt like we would be very fresh. I think we probably played 5 or 6 or 7 subs in the first half, which, you can take advantage of college soccer rules. And so we knew we'd be fresh. So it was just about going out. And obviously, I think there's 2 things that probably happened in the second half. I think our guys kept believing, and they just really were on the front foot. Like, games change. If you actually watched the last 5 minutes of the first half, the game changed a little bit. We started to go behind Trinity. We subbed in Henry Perkins, who's one of our captains. He's not like the speediest guy, but he was the first forward for us who tried to actually get him behind. And we gave them some problems. And so that was sort of our thinking of like, I think we just have to be a little bit more direct in the second half and go behind and make these guys defend. And you guys know, just naturally in soccer, when a team has a lead and there's a national championship that you're holding on to, you tend to drop back and become more defensive, and the team that's chasing it becomes super offensive. And while we controlled the second half, they also had a couple chances because we had 9 guys committed forward every time we attacked. And a couple defenders made some last ditch plays, and our goalkeeper made some important plays, and just kept us in there till we could finally find that moment with 4 seconds left.
I don't even think I say congratulations on your national championship, by the way, Coach. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's right there. It's right there. So,
oh, awesome. There you go. That's
right
really
behind him.
But my question is, you lost 1 game this year, and that was back on September 6th to Williams College. How do you keep a team motivated? How do you keep a team from being complacent and still trying to go forward to obviously get your goals and winning a national championship?
Yeah, it sounds cliche, although all this week, listening to the national championship football stuff that's been going on, the Miami coach Mario Cristobal kept talking about just going 1-0, and we have a saying in our program, 1-0 today, and that's been our focus. I mean, we have a grad assistant who works with us, and I was doing the math actually over the weekend. I was like, Luca's been here 2 years. We've played 42 games. He's lost 1 game. We've 42 soccer games. To lose once is insane. And so for us, it's just about going 1-0 today. Is I mean, it's cliche, but like it's our motto. It's all over our locker room. It's everything we talk about. It's on the sheet that we give in the scouting report. I believe for us, what 1-0 today means is you give your very best on each given day, and if it shakes out and it works out, great. If it doesn't, you wake up the next day and you try to do it again. And so, that has carried us, really well throughout the years. It's something I've used as a coach for me, and my assistant Eric Nortensen kind of brought it on at lower Division III level programs 15 or 20 years ago, and have carried it through. I don't know. I think we hadn't lost last year, so there was this. I think going into this year, there was some element of like, we're still undefeated. Let's try to keep that going. And in some ways, losing to Williams was good for us. And it obviously didn't feel like that in the moment. And when you lose, it doesn't feel great. But looking back on it, it's all just about going 1-0. We play in the best Division III conference in the country, and so whether you're playing the best team or you're playing the 11th best team, you can lose. There was seasons take on their own craziness, and there was a point in don't know if that was late September or early October. We were at Trinity. We were on the road. Trinity probably finished 10th or 11th in our league this year, and we were down by a goal with 20 minutes left. And I was actually thinking, man, we might not finish in the top four. We might not even make the playoffs. Like, crazy. And then you just keep stacking 1-0 days, and sure enough, enough of them worked out. But the guys just had belief and desire and all of those things, and just incredible leadership and captains. And we had a special group this year that was so team first and willing to do whatever it took. And that meant some guys who, again, would be starters everywhere else in the country playing 20 minutes a game for us, but knowing that 20 minutes was what their role was, and to be really great in those 20 minutes. So can't quantify it all, but a special group that got something special done.
How have you been able to cultivate that buy-in for players? You talk about, they might be able to make an impact somewhere else, or maybe get more minutes somewhere else, but they dedicated themselves to the role in which they filled on your squad. That's a hard thing to do, to kind of build that culture and that buy-in. How have you guys been able to do that effectively that obviously led to a national championship?
Yeah, I think it's not a 1-year thing for us. I think as much as I watch college football and college basketball these days, I'm grateful that we get to coach mostly 4-year players, because it does.
Right.
It does.
Right.
And it's just a different game what these guys are doing, and what they do in 1 year to build teams is incredible. But I'm fortunate that we have some transfer. We have two transfers, and it's a little bit part of ours. But you don't come to Tufts for 6 months. If you're transferring in, you're coming for 3 years, and so it's just So I mean, a lot of it starts when the guys are young and with upperclassmen leadership. I think a lot of it is player driven, and guys understand that. And I think our team does a wonderful job of, even if you're 18 and you're not playing and you're a freshman, you still are valuable to the team. And guys, coaches are reiterating that. We're developing those guys more than we're developing the guys. The reality is guys who are playing in season aren't really developing, because it's game Wednesday, game Saturday, game Wednesday, game Saturday. And so our focus really is just on developing the guys that aren't playing that much while we're in season. I think there's probably some level of appreciation from guys of like, well, wow, the coaching staff is really still bought into my development, even though I'm not playing, or I'm playing 10 minutes a game. I think most of it probably comes from the players, the juniors and the seniors, who still make the young guys feel valuable. We do some unique things here too, and college soccer is unique. Like, we play a bunch of guys. We're really deep. What we say is our first 11 is as good as any other team's 11 in the country, but we think our top 20 is the best. There's no other team in Division III that has 20 or 25 guys like we do. And so we play 18 to 20 guys every game, which I think creates a lot of buy-in. It's guys stay happy when they're playing. And so, one thing I've done is, I've learned this throughout my career, is if I have an opportunity and a guy has trained really well early in the season or in the middle of the season, maybe some guy hasn't played at all, but he's trained incredibly well, I'll throw that guy in the first half of a game with the last 10 minutes of the first half, and give him that sort of that little carrot that he's earned. And, I think guys appreciate that too. And I don't know, I think that's really important. I think when I was a younger coach, I'm in my mid 40s, I've done this for over 20 years now. And as a younger coach, I used to think like, man, I don't know if I can dare like put that guy in who hasn't played. What if we get scored on in that 10 minutes? And the reality is, like, I've continued to do that in the last 5 or 10 years of my career, and we never get scored on in that minute. And that guy is so hungry to prove, and often goes out and does a great job. And again, at Tufts, we're really fortunate. This, as much as we're a Division III program, the reality is we have Division I talent, and the 22nd guy on our team who hasn't played in 2 weeks, he's really good. And so just giving guys a chance. And then the other thing we do is we have like lineups for when we have leads. We have different guys might play when the game's tied. If we're chasing a goal, we always, like this year, if we had a 1-goal lead, we played with 5 in the back, and we called it Megadeth, and we put in our Megadeth lineup of our athletes and our big guys who they were never going to concede. And crazy, they actually didn't concede. We never conceded with a 1-goal lead in our Megadeth 5 in the back lineup on the field. And then when we need a goal, we have these 2 guys, Gianluca Fallone as a freshman and Will Nicholas, just these like special attacking players. And we would always throw them on, and they were on in the second half. Gianluca, when we score the when we scored the tying goal in the national championship game, Gianluca, a freshman who had not played in the Final Four, was on for the last 5 minutes, and he actually takes 2 of the shots in that sequence. And I'm really glad he was on, because most guys, myself included, would have kicked one of those over the end line and over the crossbar, and the whole thing would have been over. And Gianluca put 2 on frame. One almost went in. We got a rebound. And so, just trying to find little moments where you can give guys experience and they keep pushing. But ultimately, it comes from having incredible teammates, and our guys are just the best teammates, and there's so much love for each other within our program, whether you play 90 minutes or you play 0 minutes.
You talked a lot about development there, but what is the process at Tufts University of developing a player from immediately as they step foot on campus, whether that's a transfer or whether that's an incoming freshman?
Yeah, everyone's situation is different. Some guys come in and they're playing immediately, and so their development is probably happening on the field in games. You grew up a lot playing in our league, the NESCAC. Again, like I said, it's the best Division III conference in the country. I've coached in many other Division III conferences, and the biggest difference of the NESCAC is just like the worst team can beat the best team, and that's not usually the case. In most Division III conferences, the best team beats the worst team 6-0, and that's just not the case for us. So a lot of the development happens, just because of the competition level that we play at. The other piece that happens is we just compete, and our guys compete every single day against each other. And I think competing against the best players in the country, you're gonna either falter, or you're gonna have to fight and scrap and try to thrive in that environment to survive. I think we empower our staff. Like I'm a big believer. If anyone who watches one of our games will recognize, while I'm the head coach, I have 3 or 4 assistants that are doing a ton of work, and they're wonderful. And in season they'll spend lots of time on the field with the guys who aren't getting as much time, developing them. And I think one thing that we do a really good job of is we're not just going out and playing 5-a-side with the guys who don't play. We're actually thinking, okay, you're right back. Let's think about what your weakness is, and maybe your weakness is crossing the ball, or maybe your weakness is your positioning or defensive kind of focus, and whatever it may be. So we do some pretty position specific stuff. But again, a lot of that comes down to just having great staff. And I guess I'm in the college football brain lately, but I was listening to those staffs this week just talk about how great their coaches are, and how incredible, as great as the head coaches are, they would be nothing without their assistants. And so our assistants work their butts off for our guys and are always willing to go out there. And, we give them IDPs, individual development programs. Division III is unique division, right? So we're only allowed to work with them sort of a very small window during the spring semester. And so a lot of what our guys do is with our strength conditioning coaches, which is permitted. But then a lot of what our guys do in sort of January, February, March is on their own. And we try not to leave them completely to their own devices. We've gone through and shared with them, before that semester starts, here's what we see, here's where we think you need to get better. And, guys, naturally, and I remember this as an athlete, you like to go and work on things that you're good at, which is important. I don't think that should be negated. I think if you're good at something, go become great at it, but also go work on the things that you're not good at. And so our guys do a really good job. And the off seasons, fall sports are an interesting one. If that we train all spring, and then the guys sort of disappear for 2.5 or 3 months. And so, it's important. We say as important as the spring is in college soccer, the summer is actually the most important sort of developmental phase, and to make sure guys are ready for the college soccer season.
I've had the chance to work with, speaking of teams that have really made their mark on the national landscape, in the NAIA level with Bethel University. I've had the chance to call a lot of their men's soccer games. And one of the things you talk about, we're talking about the college football vein, Kurt Signetti, head coach for Indiana, mentioned that a lot of his assistants and support staff that he's had have been with him for years and years, because there's such a solid relationship inside of that coaching room. And just the way that he goes about his business. He doesn't want to waste anybody's time. He doesn't really make people stay late. He's you come in, you get your work done, and you go home, right? That's what it is. And so looking at your group of assistants that you have, and you have a very deep staff. You have a very deep support staff. How long have some of these guys been with you, and how solid are the relationships inside of the coaching room?
Yeah, relationships and coaching are everything. And I completely agree with those sentiments. Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think I'm similar in that our first assistant, Adam Batista, will say he's been around. He's been in Division One. He was at Stanford. He was at Boston University. He's an associate head coach at Brandeis. I'm really, and he shouldn't be here. And we'll try to hold on to him as long as we can. But he has a big saying because I mean I'm a family man. I have a young son. We tend to practice. We tend to train. Either 12 to 2 or 2 to 4. And so when we're done training, I'm gone. I'm going home to get my son to soccer practice with my wife and make dinner and enjoy that. And the reality is, like, in season, am I probably watching some film for 2 hours after everybody goes to bed? Yes, absolutely. And thinking about recruiting and making sure I respond to the right emails and whatnot. But the reality is, like, yeah, we're not. Once our day can be done, we're done. So we try to be as efficient as we possibly can. We prefer, and this is probably, I think driven from the top. I prefer to work in the morning. The best work I get done is from like probably 7:30 a.m. till about noon. After that, I need my coffee, and the rest of the day is never quite as efficient as those first hours are for me. But I think being able to, and I share this a lot. One of my favorite things is when my assistant coaches go on to other roles. So it's, whether it's a part-time assistant here going on to a full-time assistant role, or I've also had a lot of assistant coaches that have gone into head coaching jobs or higher level, Division I assistant coaching jobs where you can make more money, quite frankly. And so the move makes sense. But I think something that I take a lot of pride in that. I love when our assistants go on to bigger and better. I think that's great. But what I share with them is, like, when they do become head coaches, just like make sure you're hiring the right people that you can fully trust, that you enjoy being on a day-to-day basis. I mean, in season, as much as I say we go home when we can, like, because we play on Wednesday and we play on Saturday and you're on the road and all that, like, we're probably together like 60, 70 hours a week in season. So if you don't enjoy those interactions with your staff, it's going to be a long fall. I think if you watched any of the Final Four, when we won, our staff, I mean, we couldn't have enjoyed each other's company more in those moments, and grabbing each other and screaming at each other, and because we know how hard we work for our players. But yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly lucky with my staff. Eric Nordenson is a volunteer assistant for me. He and I have literally coached together for 20 years. Everywhere I've gone, he actually lives in Vermont, which is crazy. We're in Boston. He lives about 3.5 hours away. But everywhere I've gone, he's come with me. And he's not here every day, but he's here as much as he can be. Our first assistant, Adam Batista, Small World Stuff, we're from the same little small town in Vermont that's not supposed to be winning national championships in anything. And Adam's father, Jose Batista, was my high school soccer coach. His mother was an elementary school teacher of mine.
Wow.
Christian Suvak. Yeah. Our second assistant, Christian Suvak, just a wonderful guy that, we're lucky in Boston that he has a full-time club soccer job and can basically almost like work full-time for us simultaneously in the fall. I shouldn't say that out loud for his club soccer job in the public. He's here all fall. So, and does an incredible job and has just become one of my best friends. And we have the grad assistant that we're super lucky. We don't actually have a grad assistantship. He's just a graduate student at Tufts who played college soccer and has just become, we say it's like the four of us, and then Nord, who comes from Vermont, and then Zach Abduglass, our goalkeeper coach. And I went to Middlebury College, a small Division III college that's in the NESCAC as well. And just like ties, Adam Batista, our assistant, and Zach Abduglass both also went to Middlebury College. They're 10 years younger than I am, but yeah, I think just a staff being totally comfortable and having each other's back, because there's going to be hard moments. I mean, you referenced it before. I'll be very honest, like halftime of the national championship game, the four of us who I say are the ones who are making decisions, like we're screaming at each other in our own little huddle, like, no, that's not what we should do. This is working, it can work. And, and I want everyone's opinion. I couldn't ever be a yes man. And I wouldn't want yes men. And so we say, like, the assistants are over on that couch and we're all in here chatting. Everybody's opinion the reality is, like, I ask them what they think, and then I make the decision. They're typically the ones who actually are coming up with most of the ideas, and then I'm just fine-tune them, and I'm going to be the one to present it a little bit more. And in our own friendly confines, I want lots of disagreement and everyone to voice their opinion. And then where the trust comes in so strongly is when you leave the office door over there, everyone's on the same page. Even if you're, when you're an assistant and you don't quite believe it, it's so integral that when you walk out there, you're spreading the message that the head coach wants. And I know that can be hard, but I think that's such an important part of just building, trustworthy and loyal staff. So no, our staff is incredible. Our guys call us the entourage, and we take pride in that. And we're just part of our team. Like, we're a bunch of big dummies. And I think that's what makes our team special. Like, we have a lot of fun, and we can go from having fun and making fun of each other and having great banter to being absolute relentless killers on the field. And the staff is just like that. When you watch us in game, like, we're pretty intense. And admittedly, at the Final Four, I was advised by someone that maybe our intensity should be toned down, to which I thought there's zero chance of that ever happening, because it's what makes us special. And if you're not in our locker room, you can't understand what it's like. And I think, anything like that just helps us and fueled us on even more. So it was totally fine. But no, our staff is incredible. That's my thought always is, all right, most important is players. Who do we have? What's coming in next? Where, can we get in the transfer portal for like one kid a year type thing at a high academic school like Tufts? Is not easy. And then my thought is always, okay, if this assistant goes, who's next? Like, I always have, me and Nord, our volunteer, we like to say we have backup plans for our backup plans.
All right, Coach, this might cause a little bit of disagreement within your coaching staff and your players. So I found a new love this year, and that's called going to concerts. I love concerts.
Sure.
My favorite thing. I saw Thomas Rhett, Linkin Park. Now I got Bruno Mars tickets, so we're going to see this upcoming year. If you could see any band or artist live, dead or alive, could be anyone really in the history of music, who are you choosing to go see?
Oh, wow.
Putting you on the spot with this one.
Yeah, I think I'll make a family decision.
Okay. All right.
I like concerts. My wife loves music. It's funny. We actually had this joke this weekend. We said, like, she was looking back through some photos, and when we first met, she was like, "Oh my God, this one summer we went to this concert and this concert and this show and this show and this show."
They're awesome.
And then we were like, "Nah." But then we were like, last year we bought concert tickets to 2 concerts, and we decided like the day before not to go because it was going to be so late, and we had a little kid, and we sold the tickets. No, we like music as well. I'm going to make a family decision. My wife and her family love the Grateful Dead, and I think going to a Grateful Dead show would just be an incredible experience. So I'll go with a Grateful Dead show. 30 years ago.
Oh, good choice. Yeah, good choice.
I like that. Absolutely.
I'm a Vermont.
Well, Coach,
I'm a Vermonter as well, so it like fits my narrative.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. I was saying the other day the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because their lead singer Anthony Kiedis is from Michigan. Of course, Michigan in general, we got a lot of different people that have come, especially from Detroit area, but we definitely got a few to choose. So, but wanted to thank you very much for stopping by the show here today. Again, congratulations on winning a D3 national championship. I imagine there's no better feeling than to hoist that trophy at the end of the year, and best of luck on the continued success for you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for what you do, and it was great chatting with you, and appreciate what you do, Ryan and Nate. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. It's Kyle Dezotell here on the National Soccer Network. All right, welcome back in, Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky. Good conversation there, and a lot of really good stuff he took away. I loved how many references he made to college football, obviously with it being as relevant as it is right now with the national championship and everything else going on. But there's a lot of good stuff that he talked about in terms of his coaching staff and obviously his players and the persistence. And, we mentioned it. He's been in the game since 2004, finally wins this national championship at the D3 level with Tufts University. Great conversation with Kyle.
Yeah, it was a really good one, and I kind of liked the don't want to say old school, but kind of the old school feel to college athletics of, taking a kid in as a freshman, developing them for 4 years. They don't get them for 7 years or 6 years, whatever Carson Beck and Trinidad Chambliss were. But no, I like that it felt like an old school feel. And I know college soccer isn't the wild, wild west in terms of recruiting, transfer portal, NIL, all that fun stuff like football and basketball are. But there's still, that stuff still happens, and it still changes the landscape a little bit. But he said only go to the portal, try to find one guy or two guys every here now and then. So I like the old school developmental approach that they have over at Tufts.
Coming up next on Inside the Game, we'll dive into a little all-sports stuff. I know we got about 30 minutes left in our show. We're going to cut up that Kyle Dezotell interview. We'll make sure we put that up on social for you guys to look at. But let's talk a little Indiana and Miami on the other side right here on Inside the Game.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs.
From high-quality production to exceptional coverage,
We ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today
call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast.
and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
A little bit of our all sports content. Big thank you again to Kyle Dezotell stopping by our show to chat a little bit about Tufts University winning a D3 national championship. Again, catch that interview live on our social media platforms. Speaking of giving people platforms, Ryan, I'm just going to let you go off on your tangent here. Indiana wins their first national championship yesterday over Miami, 27-20 the final score. End up bringing home number one, Curt Cignetti, who claimed that he was going to go win one and that he was going to beat Ohio State and that he was going to beat Michigan when he was first given his introductory presentation to the fans at Indiana basketball.
That doesn't count.
Did so in the most inconceivable run in college football history. And I can say that confidently because, again, Indiana has been the doormat of college football for the entirety of their program's history. But I know Ryan's got a few things to say, so I'm just gonna give you the floor. Go ahead, do your thing.
It's the worst national champion I've ever seen. Come on now, come on. That's what it is. It's the worst national champion I've ever seen. And I say this. So before Nate gets mad at me, because I know this is his team, these are his guys. Like, he loves Mendoza. He loves the cornball interviews. I know. But hear me out. When I look at national champions, you think of greatness. You think of World Series, any championship, you think of greatness. The pure players that are great. And they're outside of Mendoza. They're not great players all over the place. And D'Angelo Ponte's good, yes. Who's the linebacker? Fisher, really good linebacker. Like, Indiana is a solid-ass football team. But after this year, I don't think any of these players are going to do anything in the NFL. Like, I genuinely don't think they do anything. Mendoza, that's about it. Surratt, back shoulder, he's going to be on an NFL team for a while because he's a good red zone threat. Amar Cooper, maybe. The running backs, maybe. But outside of that, I don't see any of these guys doing anything in the NFL. We look at Ohio State's team last year. Arvell Reese will be a top 5 pick. Caleb Downs will be a first rounder. Jeremiah Smith will eventually be a first rounder, but we won't know yet. Who's the guy in the Lions? Tyleek Williams. Who's the wide receivers? Emeka Ibuka. Like, there's stars all over the place. You think of Michigan's. You think of the D tackles: Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Colston Loveland, Blake Corum. JJ obviously was a top 10 pick. That's up for people to decide if he was deserving of that or not, but up to you. Will Johnson, Mikey Sainer, still all those stars. Then you go to the Georgias. You got the whole defensive line, basically the whole Eagles. The whole Eagles is basically a Georgia. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Kobe Dean, and they're led by Stetson Bennett of all people. But you get the point. I don't see anyone in Indiana. If I'm being honest, I don't even see Mendoza. I don't even see a ton of people doing anything in the NFL. That's why I said worst national champion. Now, I will disagree I will say that is a damn good football team together as a collective unit, and I get it, team sport, yada, yada, yada. But I'm telling you, this was a down year in college football, and they took advantage of it. And plus, they're goddamn 23, 24 years old. They're older than me, and I graduated college last year. I graduated as a 4-year student at Central Michigan, and there are kids older than me still playing college football. And by the way, I thought Pat Coogan, he should be a Lion. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, damn. He needs to be drafted to be a center for the Detroit Lions as like in the 2nd round or 3rd round, even though they don't have a 3rd rounder. And I'm watching him yesterday against an NFL D-line. He got killed time and time again. So that is why I said worst national champs. And I already have on my TikTok page, I already got all these Indiana fans, y'all insecure about everything, so mad at me. I'm telling you how it is. They're the worst national champion I've ever seen. I would say Auburn. No, I would say they're better than Auburn. I would say Auburn is probably the worst, but it is not a good national championship team. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess being the worst national champion is probably the best backhanded compliment that you could get, right? Like, I don't think it gets any better than that. Like, there's still national championship attached to it. No, I mean, hey, Kurt Cignetti unveiled something this year that I think a lot of coaches are really going to start paying attention to, and it has everything to do with what we talked about with potential versus productivity, right? That is when Francisco Mendoza says that they're a island of misfit toys. I don't necessarily agree with that.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner. You can't be.
He's
an
a Heisman Trophy winner, right? But to what you're saying, maybe he has a little bit of a point, because an island of misfit toys is not necessarily a team that's going to produce top-end NFL talent. Let's talk about another team that's in the state of Indiana, and I think this is partially why Indiana fans are so insecure.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame has produced, I think, the most NFL talent of any program in college football history. Notre Dame hasn't won a national championship since 1988. Yeah, I realize they made it to a national championship last year. What's that?
They made it to 2, but they got housed.
Oh,
by
2,
Alabama.
Right? Yeah, they got
Dude,
obliterated
so awesome.
by Alabama.
I don't
that
even like Alabama, but dude, them housing Notre Dame was so sweet.
Yeah, the old Brian Kelly days. But when you look at that program from an individual player perspective, there are going to be a collection of players from Notre Dame that are drafted year in and year out, right? That this is just how it goes in terms of the standard of Notre Dame, not only getting good players, but developing good players. I don't think you have to have a list full of NFL caliber players in order to go win a national championship. Ryan, how many players on that Michigan 23 national championship team have made like a significant impact in the National Football League?
Let's see. Will Johnson already. Colson Loveland.
Will, okay, I'll give you that.
Loveland. Mason Graham, even though
Mason Graham has looked,
Corum plays a lot now for the Rams. A.J. Barner plays a lot for the Seahawks. Sainer still plays.
How many total?
A lot.
That's true.
What?
How many total players were drafted that year for Michigan? 20?
The straight national the national championship team itself, or the year after they won? Because the year after they won was it was one below the record. It was one below the actual record.
Huh. Okay.
But then you obviously add in the 5 last year, because Josiah Stewart obviously on the team too, and then if you add Derek Moore this year, So you add another one. So again, I don't know what the number is all of it, but it's pretty significant. And all I say is it's the worst national championship ever, because when I'm scrolling through like mock drafts, and I know it's not obviously that's going to tell the whole story, because I still think 4 or 5 of them will get drafted. But when I look at the whole team as a whole, there's really no one that's going to stand out in the NFL. Mendoza, but I still don't think Mendoza is going to be that sweet. And there's QB coaches that have coached NFL talent year after year said his game right now does not translate well to the NFL because it's RPO, RPO, RPO. And obviously the NFL is going to have a quarterback problem, and we can discuss how this is the worst NFL quarterback class once we get closer to the draft. Like, this is the worst NFL quarterback class of all time. We can discuss that closer to the draft. But when I look at all those guys, Surratt will get drafted, but again, he's a back shoulder fade guy. He doesn't create a ton of separation on these routes. Omar Cooper, I think, is a good player. But like when I look at their stars on the line of scrimmage, their stars is in Indiana. None of those guys are high picks. Maybe they're running backs. Maybe they ultimately get drafted and turn into Tom Brady for all I know, and they turn out to be the greatest 6th round, 7th round picks of all time. That would just be what happens. But at the same time, they're not going to be drafted high because you're drafting 23, 24-year-olds. And NFL pick, if you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, you look at any 4-league draft, they do not take older players in the first, second rounds of draft, the opening rounds of drafts, simply because they want more ROI, and 23, 24-year-olds aren't a high ROI. Why do you think in the NBA, 18-year-olds are getting drafted in the top 10, even though they haven't done anything? They're just they're drafted solely on potential. Like, they all take – that's why from here on out, you're going to see in the NBA and NFL at least, it takes 2 to 3 years for these kids to even actually develop into something in the league. Look at Cade. Look at Asar Thompson. Look at Ron Holland now. So that's going to happen. Look at the quarterbacks, for instance. That's what's going to happen. And I said it's worse because of the NFL talent that I think that they have, or the lack of, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, I guess from that perspective, sure. I know you texted me yesterday in later stages of that game saying I'm still not impressed by this team. They won every single game they played. You know, I get it maybe from an individual perspective, but it's tough for me to look at the way in the run that they made. And I get it. Maybe not a whole lot of high draft picks, but I think the other side of this conversation is the whole bandwagon part of the conversation. And I know that's something that we mentioned before coming into this. Let me make something really clear. Okay. Any team that loses consistently throughout the course of their history and then ends up winning and winning big is always going to be viewed as a bandwagon fan base. The Cubs in 2016 were looked at as a bandwagon fan base. I had people calling me a bandwagon fan. Listen, I was watching the Cubs when Jeff Samardzija was our best player. And if you notice that name, it's because, yes, he did play he played quarterback at Notre Dame when Charlie Weiss was there. And then he converted over to baseball and made a career out of it. Yes. Yeah, Jeff Samardzija was a quarterback at Notre Dame and then converted over to baseball because he was drafted, and he was the best pitcher on the Cubs when they were a 50-win team. And that was like 2014. Okay? So, no, believe you me, I was around before then. The Lions, okay? You personally as a Lions fan should know all too well about what it's like to be called a bandwagon fan when we're making runs nearly to the Super Bowl, because what did Green Bay call us? What did Chicago call us? What did anybody else in the NFL?
Trash.
Well, trash, but also that we're all bandwagoners, that we weren't here before. And the only reason why we're as vocal or as proud of our team now is simply because they're winning. Before we didn't care, right? All I'm saying is that any team that consistently loses throughout the course of their history and then all of a sudden finds thousands and thousands of fans, like they talked about the ratio at the national championship game yesterday, and much like it was in every other game, it was probably 7-3 in terms of the amount of people that showed up, Indiana fans. But I find this rich, more so. Number one, I don't think that's a fair assessment for Indiana fans. I think to be like, well, no, you had to go watch them play in 3 overtimes against Akron. Really?
That's painful. That's painful for anyone.
Yeah, but it is rich in my mind coming from a fan base like Miami. Do you see those home crowds when Miami plays early in the season? Dude.
Yeah, but that's also like
Nobody
30
go.
minutes from their stadium. Like the stadium doesn't help it. Like it's on campus. Like again, I get what you're saying there but at the same time that it's like USC. The stadium's so far, or UCLA I should say. The stadium's far, so it never really helps it. But what college student is making that drive or that Uber or that bus ride? And also Miami's a small school. Like it's a private school. It's very small.
Yeah. Anyways, but I just don't necessarily see that as a fair assessment. I just think it's funny to look at Notre Dame fans and
That's
and
Indiana
the
before
tizzy
Signetti.
that they're having.
That's Indiana football right there.
Yeah. Because they were so painfully bad. They were so unbelievably bad. But, I mean, I can also nitpick certain examples from 2021 when Tom Allen was there and other individual examples of that place being filled out. Yeah, obviously. You know what? Why would you want to spend, number one, the money, or spend number one or number two, the time to go out and watch a bad product? You're going to hold that against people?
The Lions fans did it. Lions fans went 0-16 and packed that thing out.
Yeah, but they were still considered bandwagon fans when it came down to it. That's all that we saw from other NFL fan bases throughout the course of those playoff runs, is that we're just bandwagon fans. Like, we just came out of the woodworks.
I never saw those or ever paid attention to that. I just was happy that there was like a decent football product.
Yeah.
That's all I was happy about.
So, no, you're right. You're 100% right. So, anyways, I just think it's funny when you troll Indiana fans just trying to get the most out of these freaking poor people.
No, it's because they get mad at the littlest thing. Okay, again, I had no issue with Indiana fans until I started complimenting them, and they still got mad at me. And it wasn't they're like, oh, you changed up or whatever it is. It's that they nitpicked anything, any way that I said, and made it a negative. And at that point, it's like, F you. I hope you lose at this point. I sat there and said, they find ways to win against Penn State, and it's a great sign. They just find ways to win. And they took that as a negative. And then against Ohio State, I just said, they find a way in these tough games to get it done. And they took it as a negative. And it's like, at that point, I hope you lose. At that point, I hope you lose football games and you don't win another one because you don't even deserve this football team, because you get mad when people compliment you. It's like, we don't want to be complimented, even though people are complimenting you. Like, people are acknowledging that you're a good football program, and then you're getting mad. So at that point, I hope they lose. I said what I said at the beginning of the year because it was deserving. Indiana in 24 was not a good football team. Their best win was against a team who could not throw the forward pass. That being Davis Warren and the Michigan Wolverines. That was their best win. If you look back at that, maybe you could throw in Nebraska as the better win. It's up to you. But they also ran the football down 3 scores against Ohio State to protect the deficit so they didn't drop more spots on the college football playoff. And then against Notre Dame, as much as I hate Notre Dame, I was hoping you guys would beat Notre Dame because I hate them. And you got boat raced in the first quarter, and then you scored 2 garbage time touchdowns to make it close. That's why I dislike them. That's why I said at the beginning, and then they get mad at me, so then I just hope they lose from here on out.
And I will say, I like the rise to prominence for Indiana. Really, you're right. It doesn't hit the same with NIL and transfer portal and the fact that you're paying 23, 24-year-olds to go compete against 18, 19-year-olds. I understand it, but like I said, there's just a special place in my heart for the worst team in college football history going out and winning a national title.
We know.
I know you know. You got no compassion in your heart. You're cheering for Miami over here? You would cheer for the Yankees against like the freaking Marlins if it was the World Series. You would find a way to be like, I hate the Marlins and their fans. They're so insecure.
No, I've always wanted Miami to be good, though. I've always wanted Miami to be good because after the 30 for 30 documentaries, I've always wanted to see Miami be relevant and be in a national championship, because just think about all the greats that they had for 30 years or so. 5 national championships, the best college football team of all time. And I swear to God, if I hear today at some point Indiana be compared to 2019 LSU, I might not come back. I might not be able to I'm going to go be an accountant or something. I don't know. Let me do something boring in a desk job for the rest of my life. That is greatness. This Indiana team is not even near that type of greatness. But that's what I've always liked you think of all the guys that I watched in the NFL, and I'm like, oh, man, he went to Miami. Oh, he went to Miami. Damn, he went to Miami, too? They're on the same team? So that's mainly what it boiled down to is of how great they were for 30 years and then watching it all unfold and how they built it the traditional way and how Howard Schnellenberger went into the hard places and had to pitch to these people from Dade County to come to Coral Gables. And the fact that they had that little bit of swagger, the dancing around everywhere, they're putting it in people's faces. Stop them. Some people did, but that's what I've always wanted Miami to be good at some point. Now, if Alabama came back, no, don't want that. Don't want Alabama to come back. Screw them. I don't like them. The Yankees, no, I hate the Yankees too, by the way. I would never want the Yankees to win anything. I want anything New York related, I hope they never win. I hope they never win anything in New York.
Let's take a very well. Actually, I guess we can just transition right into this if you want to. Unless you want to take a break, you good? Just transitioning right into this.
We got 12 minutes. We're good.
All right. Lions' new offensive coordinator just hired someone new yesterday. Drew Petzing, I believe Petzing is how you pronounce it.
I think so.
Pretty sure. What is your biggest takeaway from the Lions making that move?
He looks scary. That's a scary looking man.
Yep.
He looks like he's plotting an evil plan. It looks like he could be I don't know. He just doesn't look real. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. But no, in all seriousness, no.
I do I like my head coach. I like my coaches or my coordinators bald. I will say that. They mean business when they're bald. That's all I'm saying.
Why? Because they have no hair they can't go to the barber for 30 minutes every week?
Maybe. I mean, no. I just know they mean business. Bald guys mean business.
I'll say this. Again, I was hoping that Mike McDaniel was coming out. I was hoping the Falcons. I forgot his last name Robinson. I was hoping the Falcons guy came over, and because those are intriguing names. Because I thought what the Falcons did, I felt like they had similar kind of style to the Lions in terms of a Bijan Robinson. You look at Jahmyr Gibbs, Drake London. You kind of look at a guy like Amon-Ra or J-Mo, more of a J-Mo, I guess you could say. But J-Mo a little bit bigger. So I like that, and obviously Mike McDaniel, he's a great offensive mind. He's just kind of a dummy in certain things. And looking at it, initial reaction, it's like, who? What do we get? The Cardinals? But taking a little bit of a deeper dive, I mean, his offenses in 2023 and 2024 with the Cardinals, especially in terms of the ground game, were really good. This year, it took a massive step back, but again, the Cardinals weren't very good. You think of the tight ends. He's going to use multiple tight ends. That's what you need for Goff. He's going to go heavy play action. That's what you need for Goff. And it's not the worst thing in the world. And everything obviously starts and ends with the offensive line, so they have to retool this. But I don't think Lions fans like hearing this, but with Jared Goff, you have to win a certain way. And that certain way of winning with Jared Goff is multiple tight ends, play action. You have to have a ground game. He's handicapped in that sense. And I think this guy, Petzing, is a good fit for Jared Goff. And for all the people out there that are saying, oh, we need a new quarterback, this Goff ain't it. He still threw for 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns. And I'm watching the incoming quarterback class in the NFL. They all suck. And if they're good, it's going to take a while for them to be good. So I think this is fine. I think it's a good hire. But initial reaction, hated it. Take a little bit of a deeper dive. I like it.
I think he fits their identity. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think he fits the Lions' identity. I think he is a coach that is very run-based. You talked about them having a top 10 most efficient rushing game from 2023 to 2025. I think that's something really important for people to realize. And yeah, obviously took a little bit of a step back, but this was something who knew Ben Johnson in his college days at Boston College.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that too.
He's worked in many different capacities in the NFL, but the way in which he coaches and the identity component of it, I think is something that's really important. That you're right. It takes a bit of a deeper dive, but he's a scary looking human being, and he likes to coach scary too. And he's developed some really good running offenses And so, to your point, in that we have to win a certain way with Jared Goff, I think the Lions have won a certain way for a long time, and that's grit, it's physicality, it's running the football, and it's being able to manhandle at the offensive line and run the ball downhill. I mean, that's why that the Sonic and Knuckles between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery was so effective, because they were two different runners. But either way, you had an offensive line that could handle their business up front. And so I think in terms of getting a guy who's the right fit for Detroit, I certainly think that the Lions went out and got that in making this hire.
I would also say, for the people out there, the Lions aren't the Cardinals in terms of offensive weapons. Like, he has an upgrade across the board on offense. You think that maybe not tight ends, because Trey McBride was pretty good, and Laporta obviously is coming off surgery. But you look at the wide receivers: J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Khalif Raymond, Tesla. Which, by
it's
the
like
way,
a picture
Tesla,
poison.
Yeah, Tesla better pan out, Brad, because 3 third-rounders. Tesla, he better start being used a little bit more. I'm not in for he just comes in the red zone every now and again and makes crazy catches. But you think of the running backs. You think of Jahmyr Gibbs, and Montgomery now seems a little bit more valuable as he did 24 hours ago. But you still have to find the offensive line. Goff, obviously, miles better than Kyler Murray. But you have to hope, again, the offensive line needs to be retooled in a big way. And I said what needs to be done. You draft a left tackle or one of the tackles in the first round. You move Sewell accordingly, whatever he wants, and the rookie offensive tackle. And you have to push all your chips in and go find a Linderbaum. Whether that's retiring Taylor Decker, which that's what I included, but you've got to go all into Linderbaum. That's what you got to do.
Let's get to question of the day.
Question of the day. Of course, Salt Athletic, one of the official sponsors here of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off that #1 smell-proof cleat bag that works. Visit saltathletic.com today or scan that QR code. And Nate, honestly, I've been pissed the last couple of days. Not to the fact that I've had to watch Indiana win a national championship. Not that Arsenal has sucked recently. But no, this is the reason why I'm pissed off. It's the damn winter. Give me one reason why the winter sucks.
Mentally speaking, you prepare yourself for one thing every time you walk out of the door. Shit's going to hurt. The wind is going to hurt. It's going to want to make you cry, especially now. I think it's all of 5 degrees outside. We might be in the negatives in terms of wind chill here in Grand Rapids. Now, I don't know how bad it is, but you talk about going stir crazy, being cooped up inside. There are just certain things that happen during the winter that are kind of unexplainable. You just you start to feel different things. You start to feel like you're trapped.
Like -3 here. Ugh.
Yeah. Literally colleges in the area have gone to working remote today because of how damn cold it is. The snow is not really a problem. When you live here for long enough, I can navigate my way around snow and ice. It's literally not an issue with me. It's just the fact that you cannot just walk out of your door and go enjoy your life. Like, there is a level of pain and suffering and agony that comes with every single time you step out of your door. And that's why, like, the trip to San Diego, at least for me this year, was like, the wind doesn't hurt my face. I can step outside, and this is miraculous. Now, meanwhile, other people are wearing their winter coats who live down there, or live over there, I should say, simply because they're not used to 60 degrees. But to me, that's marvelous. That's the thing that sucks the most. It hurts. Every time it hurts.
I just think, for me, it's the cold. I hate the cold, but I think most importantly, it's waking up, having to put my coat on, put my hoodie on, maybe put my hood up, and then going to my car, turning it on, and have the split second where it doesn't turn on immediately because it's cold outside. Turns on. It turns on, but that little that split second where it's not there, go outside, scrape all the windows, or maybe if there's snow on it, brush it off, scrape the windows, and then I hop back in the car and I can still see my breath, so I got to wait like another 30 seconds until I can get the car going, because obviously you don't want to start it too cold, but you also don't want to let it run too long. Like, I don't let it run for more than 2 minutes because I know that's not good either, so it's like a lose-lose situation wherever.
Yeah.
It's just getting up, going in the car. It's freezing. You got to do all these extra
You don't have a
steps.
remote start?
No, I don't. I probably could find it. Like, I'm not going to lie. I probably could find it somewhere because it's a newer car. But, yeah, I'm looking at it. I probably could. But, again, I haven't really cared to try it. But, yeah, no, it's just – I don't know, man.
It sucks. Hey, it pays to have natural bodies of water around you, but at the same exact time, I don't really see people
Summer's
vacationing at this point. I wonder what places look like Traverse City right now. Because like you go during the summer and it's popping. Like everybody from freaking Chicago and New York and wherever the hell, they're all vacationing there. But now, yeah, definitely not the case. But that'll wrap up episode 211 of Inside the Game. We got a huge thank you to Kyle Dezotell, who joined us on the show today. Congratulations to Tufts University winning yet another national championship, their first one since obviously he came in 2020. Also, keep it locked for a special announcement, again, from the Flint City Bucks. We'll be posting that on our social media pages. But another episode of Inside the Game coming up tomorrow, episode 212. Make sure you follow us, National Soccer Network, wherever you find your social media. And until we talk to you guys tomorrow, this has been episode 211 of Inside the Game.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside.